Okay, good evening. I'd like to call this Industrial Development Agency meeting to order. It is 5:05 on May 3rd, 2021. I believe we should consider the proposed agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? And if so, would someone motion to accept it?
I'll make the
moved.
motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is accepted. The next point would be the minutes for the dates of March 29th and April 5th. If everyone has reviewed those minutes, may I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll move. Second.
Second?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I was distracted. Who did the agenda?
I made the
Lori and
motion.
Tony.
Lori and Tony, and who did the minutes? Tony and
Tom.
Tom.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Tom and
Uh,
Bob.
and I.
That brings us to presentations, and I would like to propose that we take matters out of order in respect to the agenda this evening. And I think Tracy, I think we're proposing we'd like to hear from the Miramax Antigua and Cafe first, Atlantis second, Island International third, and then Island Water Park fourth. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
All right. So without any further discussion, could we please ask the representatives of Antigua Cafe to identify themselves?
Israel, unmute. Mark Easton, unmute.
Is there lights that we can turn down?
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same thing.
Israel here?
Larry, is there a way to
I'm
dim
sorry.
some of these lights?
Oh, we can do it from in there?
Oh,
Maybe,
it helps a bit.
yeah. How about, Larry, anything up here we can do, or?
Actually, it's kind of, for you, it's kind of tough, Lori.
Yeah, maybe I'll.
Ike, are you on?
Yes,
There we go,
Okay.
that's great.
It's just you and Mr. Easton on?
If you could switch these?
yes, I am.
Okay. Just one moment. The link was not.
Yeah, if you
highlighted
could switch these two, Larry, it'd be great. This one
For some reason.
and this one.
Okay, so if you could resend that. We're still trying to get Councilman Hubbard on,
Oh, okay.
so I apologize.
Thank you for your patience, gentlemen.
Of course.
If you want me to.
Go ahead, please.
So Miramax is a project we've had for about 8 years in downtown Riverhead on East Main Street. It's got 3 subdivided storefronts. We have Ralph's Ice Cream and formerly the Blue Duck Bakery and Farmer's Kitchen. The project representative is proposing and requesting that a new tenant replace Blue Duck. The new tenant is Antigua Cafe, and here representing them is Ike Israel, the property applicant, as well as Mark Easton, and I don't see the applicant.
The applicant is sitting next to me.
Okay. And this is not a proposal that requires excessive review, as it's ministerial to the entire project. So if you want to go ahead, I don't know who, Ike or Mr. Easton, and tell us a little bit about Antigua Cafe and the principals.
Okay, well, the principal is the young lady who's sitting next to me. Her name is Mary Ellis Nunez. She's quite familiar with the restaurant business. Her family owns a number of delis and restaurants in the Hampton Bays, actually in Riverhead, and in various parts of Suffolk County. And this is a project that she is undertaking. And what she'd like to do with the project is to open up a restaurant, bakery restaurant, where they serve baked goods, some small plates, sandwiches, tacos, burritos, and appetizers, and they'd like to get a beer and a wine license, and they're pretty much ready to go. I mean, they've been working on this for, you know, approximately a year or more, and actually she's taking over the ownership now of it. Someone else was involved with it, and they really, I guess, weren't keeping a pace with getting things done, including the filing of this application, which we thought was done, but apparently was never done. So we filed the application about, I'd say, about 2 weeks ago, in conjunction with getting the landlord to approve Miss Nunez taking over Antigua Cafe and operating it. That's when we first found out that the prior person who was running Antigua Cafe had never filed the permit, the application. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to address the questions. And like I said, I have Miss Nunez sitting next to me here. You know, I could hand my iPhone over to her, and she would be more than glad to respond.
Any questions?
Can you tell us a little bit about the number of jobs that are expected to be created with the business?
Yes, well, yes, as soon as they open up, they expect the first year, and of course, you know, this is what they plan on doing. They hope to employ 4 people the first year, and then each subsequent year for the next 3 or 4 years, add at least 1 additional employee.
Okay. Is it a sit-down situation? Is it just takeout?
No, there'll actually be a bar that, you know, that has seats. There are tables, and it will be takeout also.
What establishments have they operated in Riverhead?
Could you hold on a second while I ask, what's the name of the
Village Deli?
The Village Deli?
Oh, so right.
Is that current? They operate the Village Deli now?
Well, when you say they, not Antigua Cafe,
Mary,
but other
yeah,
members of the family, yes.
Where is that?
it's right over
I-
here, next to Michael's Liquors.
No, it's across the street
It's across
from
the
this.
street from,
Is that like across the street from basically the new building and the aquarium?
I think is it?
Yep.
Yes, it's across the street from this location, correct? Or- Yeah, it's across the street from Antigua, from the premises where she hopes to be operating.
Oh, next to Riverhead Diamond and Gold? Okay.
Yeah, I know that place.
Okay.
Yes, I think you should ask them about reporting requirements, they understand that.
Yeah, and Mary's familiar with the reporting requirements that are necessary?
Yes. And of course, we will make her familiar with them, you know, we'll familiarize her with it, yes.
What is the timeline for opening?
I think from what I heard, they'd like to open by the end of May.
Okay. Any further questions, considerations?
No.
Well, thank you very much for being here this evening and supporting your application. And Tracy, what's our approach now? We'll just...
The board can consider the proposed resolution, or you can consider to table if there's further discussion that's necessary. It's up to the board.
okay.
There was a draft resolution proposed, but if there's need for further review,
Did you want to address the resolution now? Is that what you're proposing? Or did you want to...
I would make the proposal to consider.
I would second.
Yes.
Lori, consider concerns?
my concern is the bar situation. When we initially induced this project, it was not a bar that we were inducing, so that's my concern.
that's a good question.
Ask them.
They said there was gonna be a bar.
Well,
They're looking for a beer and wine license. So I'm looking to you because I did not review the definition of the project that we, and if it eliminated, or,
So the prohibitions are generally what would be considered nuisance uses. I don't think a bar specifically is a nuisance use because you have a bar at the new apartment complex. In fact, their whole approach there. So perhaps, could you tell us how many seats you propose for the bar?
Yeah, could you hold on a second, sir? How many seats are at the bar?
I think 6 or 8.
I think,
Not a lot.
she thinks 6, 6 or possibly 8, but she thinks 6.
So it'll be a state liquor license application. Have you made the liquor license application?
No, because we're waiting for the lease.
No, because she's waiting for the new lease.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you have any violations at any one of the currently operating locations? Not just in Riverhead, anywhere in Suffolk County?
I mean, not that I'm aware of, but
What
I mean,
about
that
Mary
could
Ellen?
be
Is
a
she
minor.
aware of any?
Not that I mean, that could be a minor violation. I honestly don't know, but none have been brought to my attention.
Does
does Mary know? Does the applicant know?
Yes, I'll ask her, are there any violations in any of the family businesses that you're aware of?
No, they're all upstairs.
No, she's not aware of any.
I just think that the brewery is a little different, and that's more of
No,
a
I-
manufacturing situation, you know? So
Right.
That's why.
I guess I was addressing that
It's a good question,
the
actually.
documents don't
Right, they don't prohibit that, okay.
prohibit that
Yeah, I wasn't
use.
sure
They
how
would
that
prohibit nuisance uses.
Right.
Well, isn't part of the question, is the cafe meant to be operated primarily as a bakery and a cafe, or is it operating primarily as a bar?
I think it's a bakery and a cafe, that'll also serve wine and beer, if the proper permits and licenses are obtained.
Right.
But I think it's primarily a bakery and a cafe.
With all due respect, can Mary Ellen answer some of these questions? Because
Oh, sure, let me put
Thank you.
her in front of you.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Mary Ellen. So
Hi.
you have 6 seats at the bar. How many seats will be for sitting down and eating?
6, like the 6 seats. It was like mainly supposed to be a kitchen bar or like a smoothie bar, but obviously we want to get like the beer and the wine in there too, if people want it.
Right, understood. So how many seats for people sitting down, not at the bar, but in the restaurant?
I say like 20
Okay,
in
thank
total.
you.
You're welcome.
It was previously approved, just in case Mary Alice doesn't know, it was previously approved, it was 45 seats.
Yep.
When it was the Blue Duck Bakery.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so if now with COVID, right, would be like 20, half of it.
So
To be safe.
hopefully that's a temporary problem, right?
Yes.
So
Good.
it will eventually be 45 seats, is your plan, to go up to the,
We're in downtown Riverhead. Hopefully she'll be able to fill up the place that she needs as many seats as possible. We have the ability to have some outside seating in the front underneath the canopy of the building. And there's also some additional land in the back, but we'd have to go back for permits. So,
So within this resolution, it is contingent on receiving building permits, necessary permits, health permits. If she's applying for
SLA?
SLA, might take much longer. So I don't know if we want to mention that, if it's necessary.
This is 26?
It is 26, yes.
Plus, at the firehouse, we have a brewery and we also have a distillery also, so with seating and food.
But they're manufacturing, they were approved under manufacturing.
Right, understood. Okay.
So the resolution as drafted contemplates that you would obviously have the necessary permits to operate your business before you would operate the business. But it sounds like your liquor application is going to take much longer than your anticipated opening date.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm hoping to get it working one day.
right, so could the board perhaps authorize the facility without the liquor license and then provide an opportunity for them to apply for up to a six-seat service bar?
Like as a separate thing, because that's going to take
As a
longer,
separate-
right,
Right.
Well,
Yeah, I don't want to hold them up because they're waiting for,
right.
Exactly, but, and Mary Ellen, so the service bar, while you're waiting for your liquor license, you could also seat every other seat for someone to sit there and eat, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was,
For now, I was hoping for it to be a kitchen bar,
yeah,
or
To me,
just to
it's-
sit down and eat there.
I think it's just a matter of design. I mean, frankly speaking, it can operate as a bakery and a cafe, and then at which time it applies for wine and beer. You know, if the state green lights that, I suppose, you know, we shouldn't really have an issue with that, the way it's described, right?
Right.
And I wouldn't limit it just to 6 seats, I'd give them a window.
Well, no, I
You know,
mean-
6 to 10 or whatever, you know, I just
you
could.
can't,
What, for the
yeah.
liquor?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the liquor would be
You
for the
can't-
entire, no, the liquor's for the entire facility.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, within the
I'm
requirements of
talking
state
about the
liquor law,
bar
yeah.
area, if she had
Yeah.
mentioned 6 seats, but.
So perhaps the resolution could be amended that a copy of the liquor license application and approval will be supplied to the board as available.
Okay,
Is
That's
that
fine.
an
That's-
acceptable amendment to the resolution?
that works, Dick, yeah.
Copy of liquor license and approval be supplied to IDA as available.
So I'll make a motion to pass resolution number 26
As amended.
as amended.
Is there, I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. I guess that's approved then.
okay, you don't have to stay on for the rest of the meeting if you're uninterested, but you're more than welcome to stay if you like.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
attending.
Thank you, Mary Ellen and attorney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Right, that brings us to Brian.
Well done.
Yes, can you unmute Brian DeLuca?
I got Brian's iPad.
Brian's iPad, I'm assuming. I can't. Yes, it's Brian's iPad.
It's ready.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Brian.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody.
How you doing?
Hello, Brian.
Doing well. Hello, Bob.
So as you're aware, we authorized a sales tax exemption in 19 for Atlantis Aquarium. I'm just checking the date. 19, January of 19, to install a combined heat and power facility, do some roof repairs, building rehabilitation, et cetera, and some renovations at the Hyatt. As a result of the pandemic, financial situation changed, and they didn't make the investments that they had intended during 2020. For that reason, they've requested to extend, and we do put a 2-year window typically on our sales tax exemptions. They did not use the entirety of the sales tax exemption that was granted. It does not necessitate a public hearing, and they would like to extend the deadline date for the use of the exemption without increase to the sales tax exemption that was previously granted. And Brian can go into greater detail if he chooses.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tracy. That's a great summary. Essentially, really just due to the mandated shutdown and COVID, and then the subsequent lack of funds while we were closed and trying to recover and take care of the animals and so forth, we were really unable to, complete all the proposed projects that we had planned to do. And essentially, now we're standing on our feet pretty well, and we would like to get back to addressing the projects that we had planned, and would like to finish those in extend this timeframe and not the dollar amount. And that's really essentially what we'd like to do, and we're grateful if that can happen. We're still in the middle of a couple sizable things that we're trying to accomplish there, and this would help us tremendously.
Oh, anyone have any comments? Tony?
No.
Tom? Or
No.
Bob? No?
Nope.
Well, it seems pretty sensible to me. Any reason for the 16 months, Brian? Is there a particular reason for 16 months?
The application wasn't made prior to the expiration, so we're going back to the expiration date, which was in January.
Okay,
And so it's 2 years from the expiration
Okay,
date, which
all right.
with the mathematics works out that
Great,
way. And
perfect.
you could choose to extend it again. They're not precluded from, a further extension, but it just
Okay.
seemed that your policy was generally 2-year extensions and not to fit the 5, because we didn't want it to lapse with the state authority, although the paperwork will be a little creative to show how it is
It'll be
extended
rescinded.
retroactively.
Okay. Well, then, I think, what's the motion? It's number 28 here, Tracy?
That's correct?
I'll
Uh,
make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. All right, motion passed. Thanks very much, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
I
you
will,
guys are fantastic.
I'll get to that paperwork as soon as possible.
I appreciate it greatly. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
All right, that brings
You're
us
up.
to Island International?
Yes.
Okay.
So that will be Jeff Robinson.
He's got Mr. Harms with him, I
Mr.
think.
Holmes,
Yep. Is there someone else there? Ed Harms and Jeff Robinson. And I think Tim is with, yeah, that's Tim.
Hey guys, how you doing?
How you doing all?
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so, you can take this one.
Mr. Robinson sent correspondence to the agency that the operating entity that had been used by the island companies and is reflected in your agency documents is going to be, or has been replaced by a new operating entity, which is the employer of all of the folk at Calverton, if I understood that correctly. And so there's really two sides to this. There's getting the legal paperwork in the right order, which is an assignment and assumption agreement, which I've been working with their counsel, Elizabeth Fitzgerald. And so we've got that in place to be considered. And then there's the conceptual approval by the agency that the island entity, which was the Island International Exterior Fabricators. You guys,
You need different names.
I had a headache. I had a headache after this. But the international, it has been removed from the other name, and so it's Exterior Fabricators would replace that. And I think the practical effect of that is that Mr. Stevens' control is somewhat diminished, and Mr. Harms' control is increased. So there is a change of the guard, but the board has had Mr. Harms appearing before it in relation to your entities in the past. As regards the real property, the 400 Berman Boulevard parcel and the 1101 Scott Avenue parcel, there is no change in the ownership of those real estate entities. And our documents regarding those real estate entities that result in the property tax exemption are not being affected, so there's no requirement for any filing with the assessors. In my opinion, if they have a contrary opinion, certainly, we'll listen to that. But it seems that it's just the operating entity and the payroll entity, not the real property entities. So we're not going to file anything with the assessors because there's nothing to file. The exemptions are still in effect. And then the rental parcel, 393 Berman Boulevard, the Mivela Food parcel, the lease to that has been amended so that the non-international entity will operate, is the tenant there. And again, that doesn't affect the real property tax abatement because we spread the exemption for property tax purposes over the other real properties because we could not put an exemption on the leased parcel without complicating things with the owner of that parcel. So I don't know if that all made any sense, but I think we need you folks to just say a few words on the record about if what I've said is correct, and then anything else you want to say about it.
Sure. Good. Thank you, Dick. That was a perfect summary of exactly what happened. We are doing some succession planning and some cleaning up of some of the older entities here. And as one of the changes that we made, we did put all of our shop labor in the same entity that all of the contracts are in. So we combined, we made that a cleaner transaction now by having all of the fabrication in the contract holding entity. So the entity that Island Exterior Fabricators, the one who is now employing all of these shop manufacturing employees, that was existing since 2016 and did hold a lot of these contracts and was in the original application, but not as the employer.
And then just confirm, if you would, the real estate aspect.
The real estate, ownership of the real estate entities is still the same. That has not changed.
So no deeds have been filed with the county clerk regarding any of the parcels?
That's correct.
Does it work? If it works for you, Dick, I think it probably works for all of us.
It's more of a legal situation. I mean, the parties have not changed, the properties have not changed. No property is changing hands or transferring from one of these entities to another, correct? It's just the entities themselves whose ownership is being shifted a little bit. Is that?
But I'll say it again. I think Mr. Harms is taking over more of the ownership role of the entity from Mr. Stevens, and that
And the employees are being-
you've had Mr. Harms present to you his background and expertise in the business, and you've had Mr. Stevens present his background, I remember, at different occasions. So you could, if it were a completely new person coming in, wonder whether they could successfully operate this business. But
They've all been vetted.
they have been operating it, and successfully, if not quite successfully. So.
It is a new entity name and ID number for us
For the
to process.
employees,
Correct.
right, so it's an administrative
Correct.
situation more than
It's more, right,
It creates quite a problem with the Paris system because
Yeah.
we don't want the controller's office to think that you've gone out of
bait and
business.
switch.
And now it's a new entity. It's a continuation of the same, but the way their paperwork has it, it may not appear that way as seamlessly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
there
so you-
something that you would like us to do to ease that transition?
It's the way they want us to input things in the Paris, and I'm going to struggle with entering you, keeping you from being entered as a new entity would start with the numbers as they are. It's an internal issue I'm gonna have to try and resolve, and hopefully we can do that.
So what we're saying then, basically, Dick, is that in effect, the implied exemption reflected in the pilot runs to the same substantive business.
Right, the exemption runs with the land.
Right.
Yes.
And the ownership of the land is the same. The business therein, the pre-manufactured building panel systems, is staying the same. Correct, gentlemen? You're not
Yes,
going
that's
into a
correct.
new line of work here. You're doing the same thing you were doing and that your application entailed.
That's for the next town meeting, Dick. We'll talk to you about that, all right?
Oh, no. Oh,
For this application, nothing is changing in the way of the business at the location.
For this current operating business, that is correct.
no. Don't get us wrong, we love to watch you grow, but,
So, I have a question. Where is Eric Scott in all this?
oh, you're confusing the islands.
Oh,
That's next.
okay.
Too many islands.
I know what we're talking, okay, completely.
And I guess just to round out the discussion, we had guarantees from Mr. Stevens regarding the performance, so that if the company fails to make a pilot payment or similar, and that guarantee will continue and be restated, and Mr. Harms will now give a guarantee as well, and that has been discussed with the attorney as well, and we'll have those executed at the time that the other documents are executed.
Okay. Other thoughts?
So because the project is staying the same, that negates the need for any additional public hearings or anything like that, because the project itself is not changing at all.
And I think that's the important part, is that the project is
Remaining the same.
the same. These are LLCs. They could have chosen to sell a share of the LLC without the agency's knowledge. But many times where there's succession for proper planning, you'll extinguish the one LLC and create a new one. And I think that's what's happened here.
That's the ultimate goal, yes, but it will take a couple of years for the old entity to work its way through everything and close down, yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we,
It's a very big administrative
Yeah.
situation for you and Dick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we wanted, yes. And at first blush, we were concerned about, of course, the property tax exemption,
Right.
but that is not impacted.
You were
I'd
going to
like
make a
to
motion,
move
Tom?
that we approve resolution 17A-21.
No, it's
No,
27
27, you were right first.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's, so there's three
No,
resolutions.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There's three resolutions that could be considered as a package, one for each of the entities, the Scott Avenue property,
Much better.
the
400 Berman.
Berman Boulevard property, and the 393 Berman Boulevard property. So that because each one has its own set of documents that travel separately. So,
We can make those as one resolution.
please.
I think we could.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution's approved.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank
hearing.
you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all of your help.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Tracy.
Is it just one application?
Thank you.
Yes, or is it three different?
Well, we did three separate ones because it made it simpler to identify each property and each entity, because 400 Berman was a little bit different. And then you had the tenancy over at 373.
Right.
So Dick simplified it with the three resolutions, all doing the same thing,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah, I think
that makes
good,
sense.
yeah.
I think that brings us to Island Water Park.
Yes, you can go back into, resume the normal agenda.
Yes, we can.
And there'll be a brief presentation from Island Water Park, actually an update, because they have been in our system for many, many, many years. So if you could please unmute Brendan DeRigi and Daniel Bear.
Daniel Baker?
Yeah, sorry, can't see from here.
That's fine.
I've been called worse.
And I think, that's
If you
it.
can-
Ken Myers.
Also,
and
Ken
Eric
Myers,
Myers?
that's,
Okay.
Ken Myers as well?
Brendan is Ken Myers with Eric. It's hard to see from here.
yeah, he should, Eric is with Ken.
Okay.
On you? Yeah.
Yes, please. So we have gotten an initial draft application from Island Water Park. It's our third. because it's gone through some revisions, it's gone through different consultants, and it's gone through a very extended, delayed approval process. But they are on the cusp, if not have already, getting there, receiving their final approval from the town of Riverhead. And so they're back here to give a full presentation of the project as it stands today and request to be heard publicly and get their financial assistance through the IDA. Who's going to start?
Ready for us?
Or Eric?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start. So this is Daniel Baker. I'm joined by my partner Brendan DeRiggi. We're both from the law firm Sir Tillman, Ballin, Adler, and Hyman. We are also joined by Eric Scott, who is the sole principal of both co-applicants, and also Ken Myers, who is the director of food, beverage, and special events for Island Water Park. Not to confuse everybody with more islands, but the two entities here today are Island Water Park Corp., which is the owner of the premises, that's the real estate holding company, and also Island Water Park Operations LLC, which will operate Island Water Park. I'll ask Eric and Ken to speak in a little bit. I'm just going to do an overview of where we're at and run through what we're looking for in terms of benefits, and then I'll ask them to talk a little bit more about the real specifics. Eric and his family have been in the recreational sport boating business for 30 years, and in that time have conceived a vision to bring an exciting water park destination to Long Island, very similar to places that Eric and his sons and family have visited throughout the East Coast to be involved in many of the things he's looking to do here. That's the vision of Island Water Park. A little bit about the property and the project. The proposed size and scope of Island Water Park facility is really going to be unrivaled on Long Island. It's located on approximately 46 acres and will have a 75,000 square foot indoor facility and a 20-acre man-made lake. They're confident it's going to attract not only local residents, but visitors from all over the tri-state area. And that is going to be a big support to local businesses, including hotels, restaurants, and other nearby attractions in the town, such as Splish Splash and the aquarium. Island Water Park is going to be home to a state-of-the-art indoor endless surf pool, indoor rock climbing walls, fitness centers, indoor and outdoor volleyball courts, obstacle courses, bumper boats, and water slides. The indoor facility will also include a restaurant, which will serve healthy and locally harvested foods, and have a bar which will feature East End wines. The kitchen has unrivaled capacity to simultaneously serve the restaurant guests while also servicing takeout stations and being able to handle catered events. They're also going to provide adult-themed activities such as cornhole, axe throwing, golf simulators, race car simulators, and many other activities which will be modified seasonally as they go forward. The water park is also going to have a pro shop and showroom for its line of wakeboard boats and accessories. In addition, there is going to be a full-service spa, and there will be closed caption television systems and security throughout the building and grounds, which will allow parents to supervise their children while enjoying their activities. When the weather permits, the water park will have a cable park system for wakeboarding, a 2,000-foot long zip line, beach volleyball courts, flyboarding, and as described by the manufacturer of the water park, the largest aqua park in North America. So the capacity and amenities that are being presented will be able to host regional and national competitions and events for all of the water sports. Bottom line is this is going to be a real big place, not only to help them, but also to help the surrounding community and other attractions in the town. Just to bring you up to speed on where we're at, so the project really started and was conceived in the mid-2000s after Eric acquired the property in 2003. It has taken quite some time to get through the approval process and planning and all the hurdles to do something of this magnitude. Right now, he's awaiting final amended site plan approval, which is anticipated for May 19th. And once they have that, they really are ready to start proceeding with completion of the water park. If you don't know, a good amount of things have been done already. The man-made lake is already in place. The structure of the 75,000 square foot indoor facility is up, but there's a lot more to do. And that includes the installation of the restaurant, of the surf pool, of all of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the security systems, a lot of the mechanicals and other things that go along with the attraction. So there's a lot to do. So far to date, approximately $15 million has been expended, and there's an anticipated 10 to possibly even 15 to go to finish things off. The completion is hopefully going to happen in September of 2021. So we're expecting to get the amended site plan approval very soon, and right after that, full steam ahead to get everything going. Once it's fully operational, it is anticipated that it will produce 350 full-time equivalent jobs. A good amount of those are full-time, and some of them are seasonal part-time as the weather permits. The remainder of the construction is expected to produce 35 full-time construction jobs until it's finished. Now I'll talk about the benefits a little bit. We are seeking all three of the benefits that the IDA can confer. One is for mortgage recording tax exemption in the amount of $75,000 on a $10 million loan. They're also seeking sales tax exemption of approximately $1.3 million if the full amount is realized of $15 million more to go. And then finally, we're seeking today a 20-year pilot, and we are seeking one of that length due to not only the amount of the project costs involved, but also the operational cost that will come from operating the property once it is fully complete. Again, it's our position that the economic impact that will arise from this project is not only going to help the applicants, but also to help the community, the town, and the region. A lot of that has been demonstrated in the Nelson Pope and Voorhees project need and benefit analysis that we submitted along with the rest of our application package. So at this time, I'd like Eric and Ken to say a few words if they could.
Sure. Thank you for inviting us to this meeting. My name is Ken Myers. I will be overseeing the food, beverage, and special events for Island Water Park. I want to outline for you what we're going to bring to the town. I've been in the hospitality industry for over 30 years. For the last 10 years, I've been focused on rehabilitation of restaurants and venues that have underperformed in quality, earnings, and reputation. Thankfully, every restaurant that I have worked with has experienced a major lift in all these quantifiable indicators within a matter of months. My successes are always driven by instituting a community development program. Having a positive role in the community is not only great for business, but it is the right thing to do. Island Water Park will have a community outreach program from the get-go. We have hired a community brand ambassador who will be focused on local fundraisers, internships, and local business partnerships. With a focus on fundraising, we will be supporting the community while introducing ourselves to new guests and new business partners. Suffolk County Community College has a terrific hospitality and culinary program. This makes internships a no-brainer for us. Internships will give these students a leg up when they are ready to enter the workforce while exposing Island Water Park to hundreds of potential employees. We will also need to partner with many of our local hotels, restaurants, and other venues in order to maximize our guest experience. Island Water Park has so many unique attractions that our geographical demographic is potentially hundreds of miles. These guests will come to Island Water Park when they will need a place to stay as well as eat in Riverhead, creating a tremendous amount of ancillary revenue for the town and its businesses. We will encourage our guests to explore all that Riverhead has to offer, such as wineries, breweries, the aquarium, the racetrack, and our restaurants. Synergistic business relationships will be the key to our success and will benefit Riverhead and its residents tremendously. Our food and beverage will be top-notch with a local feel. In order to make this happen, we will be sourcing as many local products as possible. Our local farms, breweries, wineries, and bakeries will be some of our largest vendors. Island Water Park will require over 300 full-time employees, though many will be seasonal jobs. The majority of positions will be year-round. The level of employment will range from high-end and executive positions down to skilled hourly employees. The hospitality industry throughout the country has been devastated by COVID-19, resulting in substantial unemployment. Island Water Park will be able to offset this job loss, giving Riverhead a huge shot in the arm fiscally. Thank you. Eric?
Thank you. My name's Eric Scott. I'm the owner and the founder. This has been a vision of mine and my family's for basically close to 30 years, 25 years. This is what we do. People that know me know that I create fun for kids, surfing, wakeboarding, parasailing, flyboard, you name it, I take kids throughout the island for the last 30 years. And my clientele is huge. And I survived that long because I've been treating kids to fun. I do it naturally. Island Water Park is now going to actually be a business, but it's what we love to do. So the local kids truly going to have the time of their life. Forget about the out-of-towners. I can tell you everybody in Riverhead, from their kids to their nephews, nieces, or grandkids, are going to be wanting to come to Island Water Park, and I think we're going to be a huge asset, one of the biggest assets on Long Island. And I will deliver it.
Thanks, Eric, and I appreciate your patience.
No, it's all good. I was intrigued with all the other stuff. Thank you.
Tracy, so do we have a full application package now?
We need supplemental information on the application, and I'm still awaiting, and maybe Tim, you can help in this regard. On April 22nd, I did send a request to the assessor's office. I need an estimate on the assessment, and if we don't get that timely, I have instructed the client's attorneys that perhaps they do an in-house assessment, a private assessment, so that we can work on negotiating what an appropriate pilot may be for the project. So I need that information before we can negotiate
Okay.
the terms. And other than that, we have a completed application form and the SECRA, and we just need, supplemental budgetary information and the assessment.
Tracy, where's the location of the park?
Oh, the address, so if you're on 25 heading west, you know where the monument is at Calverton? Just a little west of that, on the left-hand side, there's a long is it an easement, or you actually
It's
own
1
that?
mile west of the fighter jet
There you go, 1 mile west of the fighter jet.
I know where it is.
and right behind the ball fields. Directly across from the mountain bike entrance. And diagonally from the cemetery.
Are these two entities separate and distinct? Or will they all come together when I guess I'll call it the second one is finished?
Well, they're separate and distinct in that one is the entity that owns the property, that's the holding company. The other is the operational company that will operate the business.
So I have a question. First of all, Eric, thank you for bringing this project to Riverhead. It's well needed. A couple of questions. Out of the 350 jobs, how many do you estimate will be permanent positions?
Well, out of 350, there's actually going to be more than 350. But what we did with the part-time is we added 2 part-time to equal 1 full-time. So really, theoretically, it's 350 full-timers, called 350, because there'll be over 350, including the part-timers. Does that make any sense?
It does. I'm just curious, how many will be permanent?
So they have submitted an application?
Okay, so I would say at least 250
Okay,
will be full-time,
all right.
Year-round.
year-round.
That's, my second question is, I'm just curious, on the lake, which I think is phenomenal, did you line the lake, or is that just?
No, you didn't have.
Okay.
22 years ago, we would have a liner and we hit water. It's like going past Artist Lake. You know Artist Lake? It's the same exact, it's groundwater, it's road water that comes off the road. It's not anything to do with the aquifer or the drinking water. It's 3 feet down. So
Whoa.
it's the same as like Artist Lake or any of the lakes that you drive by. Not Peconic, but that's salt water. But any of the freshwater ponds, it's the same thing. It's just natural water.
Okay. Next question is so you're hoping for an approval date of May 18th. When would you open? Like, what would be your opening date?
My goal is the fall. If everything goes good and we get our approval, we're on pace to open for September.
Okay. My last question is, will you, and I understand and really appreciate the community outreach, will there be discounts for Riverhead residents?
100%.
Of course. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience operating a facility of this size and scope?
Well, I've never operated anything this size, but I own probably about 25 businesses. I have over 300 employees right now. So operating 25 businesses is a lot harder than operating one big one. I can promise you that.
They're in a similar field?
Yeah, well, I've been in the boating business, which is the water skiing and wakeboard industry, for 30 years.
Okay.
So literally, that's my main company, my one that I like the best, one I spend the most energy, and clearly, as you see, spend the most money on. But that was my main company that I first started with when I was in my 20s, and it's grown. I have a place in North Carolina. We're pretty huge down there. We have over 60 employees down there. It's a pretty big company down there, but I got places in Florida, Texas. So me owning companies all over the place, I promise, is a lot harder than me owning Island Water Park. Island Water Park is what I do with my eyes closed.
Eric, when I came to do a site visit, you talked about the impressive team that you are putting together, and during the public hearing, perhaps we'll get, or for the board, we'll get bios on the team members that you put together to run the operation.
Thank you, Tracy, because one of my main guys, other than Kenny, I have 4 main guys that been all through COVID, been on the payroll for almost 2 years to help this place get open, and these are high-paying jobs. He's opened 40 theme parks throughout the country. He's even opened the Mirage out in Vegas in '88. He had a piece of real estate that he opened, so he's been in the entertainment world since mid-'80s. But he's opened 40 theme parks, including Urban Air and Ronkonkoma, right before COVID, and they broke every record. And there's 110 locations throughout the country for Urban Air, and Mike's location broke every record. So he's one of my main guys too.
Yeah, we'll supply bios for the
Yeah, we
board.
haven't seen anything, so it's
Yeah,
hard to see.
well, this is technically the brief re-update, and then public hearing will regurgitate the details.
Okay, good. Yeah, look forward
Other
to
questions?
seeing the application.
Concerns?
I'm just curious, what's the square footage of the restaurant?
It's got indoor seating to seat 118 and outdoor seating in the hundreds.
Does that
It's the
also
square
double as-
footage is probably a little over 3,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet.
And that doubles as the event space?
Yeah, that's gonna be that, and also we have all the acreage on the property. It's going to be like a park, it's going to be beautiful, so a lot of it will be outdoor events.
Do you have a traffic mitigation report that you can share with us?
They already
Yes,
have.
yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it was filed with the town, yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm impressed.
Again, thank you for bringing that to Riverhead. That's
Well,
beautiful.
thank you.
I guess that's all we need then
Yeah,
tonight,
and
Tracy?
typically, we have in the past, if the board is so inclined, at my discretion, provided that all the material is submitted, we can call a public hearing. Now, we need 10 days to post and publish a public hearing, once the board's got material in their hands. So if we get the rest of the material in and we negotiate a pilot, we can call a public hearing if that's the sense of the board, and we can ratify that calling of a public hearing at the next meeting if we make the next meeting, if it's
Do we
done
have-
quickly enough.
Do we have projected financials?
We do not have financials yet.
Can I get projected financials, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay,
And some more information about the jobs and types of jobs
Yeah.
would be great.
I didn't provide the application because I was afraid it was a first draft, and
Yeah.
I know it gets confusing every
Agreed.
time I send, so I wanted to wait until we had everything, and, so I just gave you the synopsis and the summary at this point. But they've submitted the economic impact statement, they've submitted the traffic study, they've submitted site plan, we almost have everything.
Okay, good.
great.
Whatever else you need, we'll get you pretty quickly.
That's great. Well, we really appreciate the presentation and the effort, and we
Yes, yes it is.
hope it's all gonna go well. And so it's just a matter of getting a package for us to review,
Yeah,
right?
I
Okay.
mean, I don't need a resolution as long as I have a sense of the board that we can move forward, or do I do need a resolution?
No, I don't think we've done,
Okay.
No.
in the past, what, our practice has been to have an initial presentation as we've had, have you supplement the information that Tracy needs so that she can give the board a complete package. You've heard the things that they want, the financial report, the other reports that you've evidently prepared already, as well as the bios on the operators and the job descriptions. And that once that's in, our meetings are the first Monday of the month. The paper is published on a Thursday. The deadline for the paper is a Monday, and I need at least 4 or 5 days to write the resolution. So time is probably running out for
Yeah,
this meeting.
I'd have to have everything by like next week.
Yeah, so I think a more realistic thing, a realistic approach would be to figure that it would be on for the next regular meeting. On the real property tax abatement, and your attorney can discuss this with you further, taxable status day was March 1st, so we cannot affect the taxes that will be imposed on the parcel for the 2021-22 tax year. They've already been determined by the status of the property on March 1st. So there is no deadline, so to speak, on that issue. If you're incurring mortgage recording tax, that obviously your financing is going to occur when that occurs, and you're awaiting your building permits before you're going to spend any money in the ground. So we could hopefully get things together for you on time for your needs.
Tracy, can we get some renderings from them? What,
Yeah, can we get some renderings, Brendan? as
Yes,
well?
sure.
So that's really all you need at the moment.
okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time and
Thank you.
presenting this
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
We'll get you
Thank you very much.
information. Thank you.
Okay.
Who's in the upper left corner? What a project.
Upper left is Brendan DeRiggi and another attorney and.
God. There was
There was Skyland Water, yeah.
Yes, that takes us now to the next item on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
Takes us to the next item on the agenda.
Yes,
Correspondence.
none.
We have no correspondence today, all right? Then we have a treasurer's report.
I don't think
Make
so.
us smile, Bob.
Okay, so the balance in the People's United Bank checking account as of April 30th, 2021 is $101,677.90. Investment balance at April 30th, 2021 was as follows: $45,572.11 in municipal money market account bearing interest with an annual rate of,
Pathetically, .2.
well, not even, it's 0.15.
Rounded up.
Oh, is it down?
How did, I don't know, yes. So revenues for the month of April 2021. What did I miss something?
No, it must be a second set of financials, because the last I looked, it was .2.
That's what I thought it was. But anyway, so revenues for the month of April 2021 include interest earnings of $12.52 and an application fee of $4,000. Expenses paid for the month of April 2021 total $30,047.53. Get a motion to approve?
One question on the expenses paid, that seems a little bit over our
Yeah, I was
average
just-
burn rate.
It's like 10,000 over.
I was gonna say, right?
Yeah.
Was that just some auditor's fees or something like that coming through, or what's that? Must be a couple of major line items.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
One thing is, we have 5 weeks in the month, no, that's next month.
Well, anyway, it just seemed a bit high for the
It
month.
does,
but,
and I'm surprised I didn't catch that.
Because normally I think we're around 20,000.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, usually around 15.
So is that what it is? Are we sure of that? Timing?
January through December. I don't know, I don't know.
I'm sure it's timing. It's gotta be timing. It's just some kind of,
Yeah, because there's nothing in here that's,
there must be some major
That's
fees
glaring.
that we paid, that,
yeah, it's 5 weeks of payroll
is that what it
instead
is?
of 4, and and she also adds in the month of, we're April, May, so that the checks can get signed in advance.
Yeah.
It was an IRS payment.
Right, IRS payment.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then
that's
we're-
the additional pay period.
So we're like 15 a month.
Yeah, we're typically around 15 a month.
Just a general observation, Tracy, I noticed that, our expenses, we're always talking about a cash basis, where revenues are always on an accrual basis, and all the reporting material we have every month seems to be on an accrual basis.
Yes,
Can she give us just a monthly cash summary, so we've at least got a,
sure.
sort of a quick reference to the burn rate? Okay.
Yeah, the budget to actual is accrual as well. So yes, I will get that.
And I'm sorry, Bob, did you touch on LDC activity or not?
Typically, we do report that in the LDC, but the IDA operates, so you can feel free to read
I
it.
mean, yeah, I'll read it off.
Okay.
So the balance in the LDC account at April 30th, 2021 was $758.46. Activity for the month included proceeds from U.S. Treasury were received in the amount of $95,529.67 on April 27th, 2021. A wire transfer was initiated to the Riverhead Charter School in the amount of $95,279.67 on April 29th, 2021. Interest of .39 cents was credited to the account on April 30th, 2021.
Any,
It goes in and out in like one day.
No, but no, I'm talking about the
any further comments or questions regarding the treasurer's report?
Yeah.
No?
Do we need to accept this? Do I need a motion to accept this?
Yes. So
Have a
moved.
motion, please?
So moved.
Tom?
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That brings us to committee reports, which today appears to be no audit, no governance, nor any finance committee reports. So we can move on to old business. Tracy, you want to tell us about Mr. King's?
Yes, so as I had stated in an email, I was concerned with, I watched the board meeting and I wanted to make sure the board was fully informed as far as the fees were concerned, and I feared that I had mentioned the wrong amount, so I wanted to clarify it in that email that the administrative fee for John King was $1,000 plus the 5% on the pilot amount, plus the 5% for GML.
Right.
So the agency charges were actually $5,500.
Not just 1,000, like we
Not just
were
1,000,
kind of
correct.
discussing last time, I
And-
think.
Right.
And the GML, which the board
Doesn't have any,
typically cannot alleviate, is the $4,400. So I just wanted to clarify before the board adopted a resolution and wanted to maybe review it again. And that's why I provided the additional information, as well as a resolution that has options in it.
A lot of options.
Yeah, sorry. So,
Any comments, conversation, thoughts?
Actually, I thought you, I understood it to be the $9,897.
oh, you did?
I did.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I didn't mislead the board with misinformation.
So the only amount that we can actually potentially alleviate here would be the 5,400,
Correct.
5,500 amount. Right? How do people feel about that, one way or another?
Good.
Good?
I mean, it's hard to say a hardship, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's, I'm fine with our original.
I am too.
Okay.
I would stay with that.
I just wanted to make sure that it was clear.
I understand things happen like this, but it doesn't rise, I don't believe, to the level of hardship that I would think that I would consider.
Well, my other feeling is this was a new employee, from what I understand, but the pilot, he's been great about doing it.
I know.
Then make it so important to this person to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Very well put. Bob?
Well, I think this is the first time this has happened in their situation, if I'm correct.
It is.
It's not like they're a repeat offender.
That's true.
So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. So with that, I'm not in favor of the full 5,000. It seems more like if it was a repeat offender, I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Tom, anything definitive?
No, they've been around for quite a while now. And somebody said my recollection also is that they did everything they were supposed to do well. So now they hit mitigating circumstances. And the argument, in my thoughts, having listened to the board, is that, well, you could say they don't really need the money. Therefore, give them a break. I don't know if they do or not. I don't have that money, it should be, that information right now. So, I guess I'm going on what I think is a good idea, given the past reference of this particular entity, and the fact that they've, in my opinion, done a really good job. But who else do you give this to is where you end up.
Well, I'm trying to think, the last case we dealt with, we were pretty firm, weren't we?
Yes. Yes, that's...
We didn't waver on that case, did we?
But you could look at it and say that was a different entity there.
It's true.
The last
That's
case...
what I'm looking at.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, the last case was a annual repeat offender, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That is true.
very good.
And
That is
that
true.
is, and I don't find this being a defensive posture. I find this just being, they're expressing the matter of course, not trying to be delinquent and then say, oh, look, we're really, start defending their position.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's my argument for, they've done a great job with what they're doing, and they have no history of this.
So in your view, it's really an administrative screw-up is really what it amounts to?
Absolutely.
Because in your mind, it was remedied
In the past.
relatively quickly following pursuit by Tracy, basically.
Well, though, there were several times that she had to reach
Yeah, it
out.
was
Right.
within a 2-week period. They were 2 weeks late, I think. Pilots were to be received on the 13th? No. On the...
To me, this rises higher than the level of a compliance report that they have to give to us or something they have to give to the agency itself. These are taxes that go to the taxing jurisdictions, and so those jurisdictions were late in receiving the funding that they expected. So, I mean, I
And
think
those
that,
jurisdictions typically do fine you if you're late, right? No matter who you are, basically.
well, the general municipal law,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't have there's no waiver of that,
Exactly.
from what I understand, yeah.
And
Well,
that's
the
the
compromise is
44.
to take some of the money out, as I guess Bob mentioned before.
So,
But you're right, I
5,000
hate to,
plus.
I hate to, you know, you bring up a good point in that they have always been compliant. They've been very responsive in the past, so that's a, you know,
Yeah, I've seen those that, you know, they're repeat offenders, and it's almost like the dog ate my homework.
yeah,
And to me, that's, you know, it's obvious and it's unacceptable.
right,
And
right.
in this case, you know, they're getting like $4,400 that they need to give to this, what's the penalty? to this?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was $4,400 from the GML penalty fees, $1,000 for our administrative fee, and $4,400 for the 5% penalty fee that we assess for late charges as well.
So here's a thought to bite on. We can't do anything about the GML.
Right.
Correct.
So that one is there, that's for their account.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is our 5% penalty,
Mm-hmm.
which you can look at it whether they've remedied that quickly enough or not. And then there's the administrative fee of $1,000, and we're spending a lot of time, particularly Tracy's time,
Right.
Tracy tracking this all down.
Mhm.
So one logical breakdown would be keep the 1,000, and Bob's suggesting some waiver of some portion of the 5%. You'd want to make it a lower percentage as a penalty, or what are you suggesting?
What is the
Bob?
5% amount to?
It's right.
Close to 5,000.
4,400.
44.
Well, you can do it simple as,
Because
Of course,
I think
2,000.
Lori and Tony
Have
would
to have a
be
waiver.
inclined to maintain the penalty.
I just
To-
know
to
how
some
it.
level, right?
Right, well, when we,
So.
because I think maybe because we're on the governance committee together, and we, you know, we think about these things very,
Yeah.
you know, very thoroughly when we're
Yeah.
doing it, and we try to make a fair policy that we're going to,
Keep.
you know,
Yeah.
keep, and that people will be aware of from the get-go. This is what happens when you slip up, whether it's on purpose or not, but, you know, so I think that's probably why Tony and I feel the same way about it.
Well, no, but it's a valid point, because basically we're an institution, if you will, that has a lot of public scrutiny. And if we're going to make a call on creating pilots and that on certain proposals and so forth, that the public do not always agree with or take the same shine to or favor to, there's a sensitivity that we have to be aware of. And once we establish rules, the public expects those rules to, if you will, be enforced.
well, I'm proposing.
Nevertheless, I mean, there are, you know, observations here suggesting that some mitigation might be appropriate.
After listening to all of this, I propose they do get a penalty, but it's, let's say, half of what they would pay.
Are you
So-
saying half of the, you mean
What's
2.5%
4,400?
plus the administrative fee? Is that what you're saying? You have
I
to be
thought that was
specific.
already, I thought that was already a done deal. I'm just talking about this one, the 4,400.
You're talking about the entire fee.
Right.
There's 4,400, there's 5,400 from the agency itself, and there's 4,400 that will be given to the taxing jurisdictions.
But which is the one that was late? If I get that straight.
No, it's,
Is all of
so
them?
the pilot was late. It was due on the 10th of January. They paid it on the 27th of January. The entire pilot was, may I borrow your, for some reason I don't have it in my packet. It was 88,000, I
was gonna say,
believe.
yeah, shy of
88,000,
Something
and
like
then
that.
the penalty for being late assesses 5% on the 88,000 for the taxing jurisdictions, 5% for the agency on the 88,000, and an administrative fee of $1,000. So the total late fee for the pilot was $9,800. So we're addressing the
Okay.
entire $9,800, well,
We're not.
No,
We're
$5,400.
addressing $5,400.
Which is 1,000 for administrative,
That's
and
right.
44 representing the 5%
That's
of
right.
the 98.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, for me, the administration fee, that's something that occurred. I would be in favor of knocking the 44 in half,
I can live with that.
only because, you know, it's a first-time thing, and these people have been compliant.
But I think it should make a statement, because what happens next year if he gets a different accountant or somebody else different? So I can meet you halfway, and I don't have a problem with that. But a statement has to be made, like Lori said, the governance committee, I don't know how many times we went
Yeah.
over this.
That's
these
true. That's a
rules
good
and
point.
regulations. We try to be
I
equitable.
totally, you know, I support,
I know, and I
Well, Lori,
I
wants to-
totally understand what you're saying too, Bob, you know,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Well, you want to be amenable to, you know,
Well, here's also what seems to be going on there. The two governance folks have gone through this before, and have charted the whole deal. I don't know of any others, except this one. And this sounds like a good compromise, seriously. That, you know, you didn't get it in when you're supposed to. And when you don't, there's a penalty. And here's what it is for you guys. That's between me and anybody else who wants to listen.
Bob, you want to give us 60% on the 5%? To
Do I hear
accommodate the hardliners?
If we get somebody that's a little bit off, maybe we'll,
the thing that
but you got something to go on now.
the thing that gets to me about this is that as an agency, we're telling the taxing jurisdictions, this is when you'll have your money, this is when it's due, this is when you'll have it. We're telling New York State, this is when the reports, our compliance reports are due, this is when you'll have it. When we don't do, when somebody doesn't give us what we need, then that reflects on us in to these other entities. So if someone's late in their compliance, New York State, we're late with New York State. The agency is. When someone's late paying their pilot payment, we are late getting money to our taxing jurisdictions in our community. So that's what concerns me.
Yeah.
But I am
So what
willing
do you
to meet you
suggest?
halfway, like Tony said. I think that's fine.
yeah, because they're
Because
paying-
it's a first time.
It's the first time. they've
It's
been-
COVID, they've probably had some
Yeah,
impact
I don't
there,
wanna-
I'm
yeah,
sure.
And the thing is, they are paying $4,400 to the state.
Yes,
That's
well,
the
we don't
penalty
have
to
any
the state,
say in
so
that. But
So are we going to go with 3%, or are we going with 2.5%?
I would go with 2.5. Oh, you want to go with 3?
I'm okay.
You're good at 2.5%?
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All
I
right,
think
so we have a
it
motion-
still sends a message that this is serious and we're not, you know,
Well, there's work,
Not just
there's
gonna
work
let it
involved.
slide.
There's no question. I mean, this is
So
about.
probably more than
Can I have a
$1,000.
motion then?
Yeah.
yeah, much
that's
more
what-
than
there's no doubt.
$1,000,
No,
at this point.
absolutely.
And I think in fairness to you and all the past stuff you've been through, I know there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of back and forth, so.
All right, can I have a motion then that we agree that the agency's administrative fee of 1,000 will be charged, and that we will reduce the 5% penalty to 2.5%? Can somebody make that motion?
I'll make,
Have a second?
second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And sorry for the confusion.
And thank you guys, thank you guys, just because.
We know.
Yeah, you
I
know.
totally agree with what you're saying. I know, it's tough. It's a difficult situation that you
Right.
don't want to make more difficult.
And with that matter concluded, we can now turn to the executive director's report. What excitement do you have for us, Tracy?
So I haven't heard from 48 Cromer, but,
Okay.
Is that Ray?
that's Ray.
Okay.
And I also did not think that we were going to hear from Hildreth Advisors referenced the presentation they made quite a while ago for the Old High Ting, but I understand they are going to be submitting an application. I expected it before this meeting, to be honest with you, but I haven't received it. The TOD, the new, that's outdated. The TOD-RFQ deadline has been postponed to May 28th. We've extended it a couple weeks to get better submissions at the request of some of the applicants. And the town square is going to have its big reveal, conceptual drawing meeting. It's open to the public, so I want everybody to know and spread the news. This Thursday night, you know, go onto the website so you can get the link, or I'll email the board, obviously, and you can join in the Zoom meeting. They're going to reveal the conceptual drawings for the town square and get more input from the community. Very exciting. We have a couple new projects brewing. Industrial sites, 135 acres in Calverton, another 30 acres in the Calverton area where we received an initial request letter, but they'll probably be on for a brief presentation in June.
What's the particular, not particular, what's the general topic of the?
135, what's that?
That's actually in an engineering, been given to a consultant to do drawings, so it's very infancy. But they want to do 1.8 million square feet of single-level building, approximately. That was the initial conversation.
That's in Calverton.
Yeah. And the 30 acres is HK Ventures on Middle Country Road, and they're going to build a 421,000 square feet of subdividable industrial space. Well, that's their intent. And that will likely be phased in 8 multi-tenant buildings.
Where was that, Tracy?
That's at 4835 Middle Country Road in Calverton.
Is it-
It's near Split Splash.
That's a smart one.
And then I received inquiries from a manufacturer in Sag Harbor that needs to expand. And they need about after preliminary discussions, they were open to leasing or buying. But then in discussions with the Opportunity Zone, they now want to buy. So we're in the site-seeking phase. So we'll have an initial phone conversation we had. We'll have an initial meeting when I can locate some properties that might be available for them. That's interesting. My report. My stuff must be intermingled in your stuff, because I have my,
Yeah, I have the real sheet here.
yeah.
We're gonna fine you $500 to get it.
I don't know, of course I don't have my report. I'm trying to go by memory. So, I sent you information on New York State so it's a federal program, the Opportunity Zone, but many of the states matched it at a state level. And New York has now moved to take that away, which is important in that we had some national investors come, and Dawn and I courted them, and they have millions and millions of dollar Opportunity Zone funds that they want to invest. We toured Riverhead downtown. They initially brought that information to us in fear that it was going to happen, and it certainly did. So, they can put that Opportunity Zone money anywhere and get a better return with their investors. So it's unfortunate for Riverhead. I can't say we lost them, but I'm suspect that the funding may go elsewhere. So it's unfortunate.
But what's the effective date of the New York law change?
I do not know that.
Okay. And then we also don't know whether or not, if you make it in by the deadline, that
I am suspect that they are going to cut off December 31st. So that if anybody made and I don't know at what level, do they just, site control, actually a shovel in the ground, what the cutoff will be.
Generally, it's when permits, of, you know, when you file for a permit, that, what that does is that activates it's either a 30-week, no, you get X amount of time to actually then, you know, put the shovel in the ground, so hopefully it's when they file for a permit.
I think you might be right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to recall my notes.
yeah, I kind of, yeah.
Well, the guys in Albany are right.
But I remember having a discussion with Dawn saying, we've got to get everybody before December 31st
Yeah.
to start their investment.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Tim a question while we have him, just to get a, if we could, Tim, a sense of the town board on the Island Water Park project? Are you able to share any information with us on that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we voted for them to move ahead, which they are, and they're submitting their site plan. Everything's been cleared through the building department. They should have this site plan probably within 2 weeks to 17 days.
That's potentially very exciting to me.
It'd be approved. Thank goodness, because it is a great, it's a tremendous operation. It's going to be a really big boost for the town of Riverhead.
Thank you.
Any other points, Tracy, from your report? No?
No, I'll have to email if I forgot anything, and I'm sure I did.
I don't know about you folks, but it's becoming clearer and clearer to me, and hopefully it's not just wishful thinking, that this town and therefore this board is going to get a lot of activity for the next year and a half or two. Things are starting to happen. And when that happens, from my experience, even though I don't have that much, my guts tell me that this is going to get big, because more people who have money, who haven't done anything, are starting to think about it. One just crossed my mind, maybe I'll build a hotel for Island Park, for all the people that I have here. And those things just happen like that, until they get out of hand, and then people have to stop. Sorry, but I had to do it.
Other comments, thoughts? Bob?
Oh.
Well, with that, then, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes our meeting at 6:32 PM.
Correct.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Good job, young man.
This is your,
Very good.
Tony?